Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live stream for this week. Just a quick flashback. Last week we had this conversation about whether your website gives off those trusty vibes. Now, I asked you guys to post your website, and we're actually doing an evaluation. So we'll be posting the evaluation or a quick feedback on your website shortly. But now I want you guys to imagine this scenario, right? Somebody just visited your website and they think, hey, let's see what they're up to on social media. Because that's what people do, right? They would look at your website and then they would check out your social media. So they hop over to your, whether it's Facebook or Instagram profiles. The question is the trust journey they started on your website consistent or continues smoothly to your social media platforms? Or is there inconsistency, or is there like some sort of hiccups along the way? So today we're going to dive deep into that first glance at your social media. That moment when someone thinks, okay, I feel good about this brand, or something's off. So it's all about that instantaneous trust or the lack of it in the world of social media. So go ahead and settle in, buckle up, and let's unpack this topic together. And today my hope is to give you guys three takeaways. Okay, one is that consistency is key. So it's much like a predictable rhythm of your morning, what do you call this? Your morning ritual, right? The consistency in your social media posts, it sets expectations on your viewers and it establishes that trust. So when audiences know what to expect and see you deliver time after time, that builds a foundation of reliability. So we will dig into that. The second takeaway is about engagement when it comes to building connections. So beyond just the captions and the posts, the genuine engagement through meaningful conversations on your social media, through your stories, and giving them a peek behind the scenes, it fosters a deeper connection with your audience. And when you handle feedback gracefully and balance promotional content with value driven insights, it further strengthens the bond that you have with your audience. And the third takeaway is value first, promotion later. Okay, so while promoting your brand or product is essential, because that's what we do as business owners, the delicate balance between promotional and value driven content can make or break the trust of your audience. So by focusing on delivering value consistently, promotional content is seen in a positive light, has to be seen on a positive light. So it ensures long-term loyalty and preventing that sales fatigue that all of us get, right, as we browse through different social media profiles. So let's dive right into it. You know, it's funny how we are such creatures of habit. Think about your morning routine, or let's say your morning coffee or tea. When you make it every day, when you make your coffee every day, there is a specific ratio of milk to coffee, right? Or tea leaves or tea bags to water that we all stick to, right? And when it's slightly off, our taste buds immediately tell us that there's something wrong, right? There's something missing. That's because they've been trained to expect a certain flavor day after day. So let's relate this back to social media. So when you're following a brand, for example, or let's say an influencer, there's a certain flavor or a certain theme that you come to expect from their social media posts. Now, the moment they deviate a little bit too far from that, it's that oddly mixed milk and coffee, right? It throws you off. It doesn't sound right, or it doesn't look right. Now, this is why consistency is so important in the world of social media, right? There are three reasons behind it. One is reliability, because when your audience sees you post consistently and on brand, they start to view you as a reliable source of information or entertainment in that particular niche or brand. It's like knowing that your favorite coffee shop will always serve your drink exactly the way you like it, right? And number two is recognition. Over time, consistency will breed a unique style that becomes synonymous with your brand or your image. It's like hearing a song and then instantly recognizing who the artist is. So when your followers scroll their feed and they instantly recognize your post without even seeing the name, right? That's the golden ticket. That's the kind of recognition that we want. And the third most important is trust building, right? And this is the big one. Trust is built on predictability. So the more consistent you are in delivering quality content, then the more your followers will trust you. Um, and this trust is essential because it turns casual followers into loyal ones, and loyal followers turn into customers, or even not customers, but they'll be passionate supporters for your brand. Now, think about this. Would you trust a brand that promises high quality products in one post and then sells something entirely different the next day? Or, say, a fitness influencer who promotes a vegan diet, right? And then is suddenly promoting a steakhouse. It's jarring, right? And that jolt that you feel can lead to distrust to the brand. So in a nutshell, consistency in your social media is like that favorite recipe, right? You can add a little twist here and there, but the core ingredients should remain the same. The moment you change the main ingredients, what happens? The dish loses its essence, and your loyal followers might start going elsewhere. So let's stick to the recipe that our followers love and trust. Okay? And think about this. We'll talk about, and this is talking about the captions and the content that you put on your social media. Have you ever listened to a radio show or maybe a podcast? Imagine tuning into that podcast, but instead of the voice, the familiar voice that starts in the beginning, all you hear is just background music. Now you're left trying to decipher the theme or the message slowly from the tunes, from that music. And that's pretty challenging, right? Similarly, on social media, your visuals are just like that background music, but the captions that follow that's the guiding voice. That's the host that's narrating that story. Let's dive deeper into why captions and content are so crucial when it comes to your social media. Number one, it's the storytelling. So every photo or every video has a backstory. So the captions that you put in there allows you to take your audience behind the scenes. Right? So it could be the thought process behind the product, or maybe your personal thoughts about it, or maybe what's the inspiration behind it. That's something that's a story that you can tell as part of that post. Second is clarification. A picture is worth 1,000 words. We all know that. But sometimes it's the caption that puts the words into the right context. So for example, you post a photo of like a beautiful sunrise or a sunset photo. Now it's amplified when your viewers or when your audience knows that, oh, maybe this is the view from my new office, right? Or maybe you're using that as a backdrop for a certain event that's happening at that time, right? It gives the image much more meaning and much more context, and it becomes much more enjoyable for your viewers. And thirdly, it's the engagement boost, okay? Because a compelling caption prompts conversation. So encouraging questions, maybe sharing little known facts, or adding some like a dose of humor. It can get your audience interacting with your content. And in the world of algorithms, which is pretty much in the entire social media, right? Algorithms, engagement is golden. And number four, the value proposition. It's not just about filling up space, but adding meaningful content to your social media. Be it, maybe if it's a tip, like a handy tip, some words of wisdom, or maybe sharing something that you have learned recently, right? Your caption can offer value to your viewers that resonates with them, and that sets you apart from everybody else. And lastly, trust building, which is our core topic of every live stream that we do. It's trust building. So being open, sharing these insights and genuine emotions through the captions and the stories, it allows you to create a genuine connection with your audience, right? When your audience feels like they're hearing a friend talk rather than just a faceless brand, that's where trust begins to flourish. So before you hit post on that next photo or that next video, spend some time on writing that caption. Consider it as the voiceover to your visual story, and give them context, give them depth, and give them you. Okay, because while a picture draws them in, it's your words that make them stay longer. Now let's talk about engagement, and this is a concept that's being thrown around a lot, right? Engagement. Why is engagement such a, I don't know, it's like a buzzword nowadays? And why do you think social media gurus go on and on about engagement? Well, imagine that you're hosting a party, okay? You've set up the ambiance, you've got the perfect playlist on your Spotify, and you just laid out a really nice or really good spread of food and snacks. But instead of everybody mingling, your guests are either glued to their phone or they're just like on the corner alone by themselves, just talking to the wall, right? Or maybe not talking. It's not a fun party, right? So this is a visual representation of a social media platform without engagement. So you can post the most captivating content, but if there's no interaction between you and the audience, it's like a party without any real conversation. And here are some reasons why engagement is super important. One is connection, right? So social media sole purpose is, social, right? It's about making connections. So every comment, every like, and every share or a DM is a line of communication between you and your audience. So it's a sign that what you're putting out there resonates with your audience on some level. And the second is the feedback loop. So engagement isn't just about validation, right? It's an invaluable feedback mechanism. Through these interactions and discussions, you get a clearer picture of what your audience values, what's important to them, what they're looking for, and any other areas that you might need to adjust. And third, it's the algorithm's best friend, right? Like I mentioned earlier, in the digital world, it's the algorithms that rule. Okay, so platforms like Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn, right? They prioritize content that receives the highest engagement. So this means that the more interactions your post get, the more they'll be shown to your audience, and even not just your audience, it goes beyond that, right? And number four, it builds trust. Going back to that party analogy, those deep and those meaningful conversations you have, those are the moments that establish and cement these relationships. So similarly, consistently engaging with your audience and responding to their questions and valuing their input, that fosters trust. So it signals that you're not just out there to broadcast, but you're also out there to listen, and you're out there to converse and communicate with them. And lastly, the community creation. And this is something I always rave about. So beyond the individual one-on-one connections, high engagements, it fosters a sense of community. So people come back to spaces where they feel heard, right? And we want to go to a place where we feel valued and connected. And in today's age, having a loyal online community is gold. And frankly, that's what I want for our community. We want a community where everyone's heard, that there's trust amongst us, where we can be vulnerable, we can share about our journey as business owners, what problems are we having, and then maybe other people in the group can also respond to, maybe they've been there and they have insight, right? This is why I keep pushing for engagement in this group. So next time you scroll through your feed and see the comments, don't just see them as notifications, okay? View them as an invitation, a personal invitation to converse, to connect, and to cultivate relationships. Because on social media, much like in life, it's the quality of interactions that truly count. All right, let's discuss one of the most magnetic aspects of social media: stories and behind the scenes content. Have you ever wondered why you are what's the word? You are instinctively drawn to these ephemeral snippets of content that disappear after 24 hours, right? Or those raw, unedited behind the scenes clips. It's not random, okay? It's not random. There is real psychology and strategy behind it. And there's a few points that I want to go over this. Number one, it humanizes your brand, right? Having stories and having behind the scenes. It humanizes you, because social media can sometimes feel like just a parade of like polished Photoshop photos and just content that are meticulously crafted. But when you share that clip of you, I don't know, laughing at a minor blunder, or during a shoot, or during the whatever you're doing, right? But when you share a clip of your morning ritual where you're not at your finest, right? When you just got out of bed, you're showing a genuine human side of your brand. So this authenticity builds a stronger and more personal connection with your audience. And number two, instant engagement, because stories in particular are designed for instant interaction. So whether it's a poll, a Q&A, or just a swipe up link that you put out there, they're a powerful tool for immediate feedback or action. So they're not just passive content. They actively involve the viewer and encourage a two-way dialogue. And third, trust through transparency. So when you show behind the scenes content, especially the process or the challenges or just the mere hard work that goes into your product or your service, that builds trust. Okay, so when people see the journey, they see the highs, they see the lows, and all the effort, right? They appreciate the end result even more. So they trust in that authenticity of your product because they became a part of the process. And number four is the exclusivity and FOMO. Okay, there is a sense of exclusivity that comes from or that comes with the stories and behind the scenes that you put out there. It's like you're getting your audience into like an exclusive club, right? You're giving them a sneak peek of what goes on behind the curtains. And let's not forget the power of the FOMO, okay, or fear of missing out. Since stories are temporary, people are more likely to view them so they don't miss out on anything. And lastly, the narrative and storytelling. Us human beings are wired for stories. We love stories. It's how we've shared knowledge and how we bonded for, I don't know, centuries, right? So by sharing a narrative, whether it's the journey of a product or a day in your life or the evolution of a project from start to finish, you're tapping into this age-old method of connection. So to put it simply, think of your regular posts as the headlines of a newspaper. So it grabs attention and it conveys key messages. But stories and behind the scenes content, they're the feature articles. Okay? They're the in-depth interviews and they're the heart and soul that gives depth into those headlines. So next time you're hesitant about showing that imperfect, that in the moment clip, remember that those raw moments that often leave the most lasting impression. All right, now we're diving into a topic that's a bit touchy, but incredibly vital. Okay, feedback and criticism. And let's be honest, no one truly loves being on the receiving end of criticism. But as we navigate this digital age, feedback, whether it's good or bad, it's an avoidable part of our social media journey. And here's why it's essential and it's super important to handle the feedback and criticism correctly and with grace. Okay. Number one, it's about building and maintaining trust. So your followers are observant. They're paying attention. They watch how you respond to praise and more notably, how you respond to criticism. So when you handle feedback with respect and openness, it shows that you value your audience's opinions and feelings. This creates a sense of trustworthiness in your brand. So on the flip side, reacting defensively or dismissively can erode that trust significantly. Second, it's an opportunity for growth. So this might be hard to accept, but sometimes criticism can point out areas that we might have overlooked. So by embracing this feedback, you can find opportunities to improve and evolve as a person, as a business, as a brand. And it's like getting free consultancy from the people who matters the most. And in this case, they're your audience. And number three, it humanizes your brand. Remember that perfection is not relatable, right? Because no one's perfect. But humanity is, being human. And when you acknowledge the mistakes or areas of improvement, it makes your brand more human because we are not perfect. So people resonate more with vulnerability and authenticity rather than perfection. They aim for perfection, they strive for perfection, but it will never resonate because, again, nobody's perfect. Okay. Next is community building. Okay. It really builds communities. Handling feedback properly can turn a critic into an advocate or a supporter, even a fan, right? So imagine someone points out an error and then you fix it and then you thank them, right? So more often than not, they'll appreciate your receptiveness and might even become a more active and positive member of your community. And number 5, it sets the tone for your community. So the way you handle criticism, it sets a standard for your community, for your tribe, for your people. If you respond with kindness and understanding, it fosters a more positive and supportive environment. And conversely, if you react negatively, what happens, right? It can set a hostile tone, and it discourages others from speaking up or even sharing their views. And lastly, think about your mental health and resilience, right? So from a personal perspective, learning to deal with feedback in a balanced way is very important for our well-being. So social media, and we all know this, social media can be a pretty harsh place, right? Especially the more followers you have, the bigger your audience gets. It can be pretty harsh. But by developing resilience and discerning which feedback to take on board and which ones to ignore, you can navigate it in a healthier way. So think of feedback like the weather, right? It's unpredictable, especially here. I live in Nashville, here in the South. It's sunny it's sunny one day, and then 5 minutes later, it's dark and rainy, right? It's super unpredictable. And just much like the criticisms, right? Sometimes we have a lot of fans that are raving, and then you get hit by those criticisms, and we cannot control it. But we can control our reactions, right? So wear your metaphoric raincoat, right? Be open to the occasional downpour of rain. And remember, every bit of feedback, if handled right, can be a stepping stone to building a more genuine, trusting, and thriving community. So I challenge everyone here to go back through your recent social media interactions. Find one piece of feedback or criticism, however small, and then just reflect on it. Okay? Ask yourself, how did you handle this criticism? And more importantly, how can you handle it even better in the future when it happens again next time? And share your reflection. Share whatever you come about to. Okay, share it with us next time, because this is all a part of everyone's journey, right? Including you and I. All right. Now, let's get into one of the most critical balancing acts on social media. It's the juggling between promotional content and value-driven content. Now, if your social media feed was a party, right? Imagine promotional content as that person who only talks about themselves all night long, right? It's not exactly the life of the party, right? But on the other hand, a value-driven content is that person who engages in meaningful conversations. This is the person who listens, who's always interested and curious. He or she offers advice. They tell engaging stories and occasionally mention something about themselves. Now, whom would you rather hang out with? All right. So let's dive deeper into why this balance is crucial. One, it's gaining trust through value. So consistently delivering value-driven content establishes you as an authority in your field. It's like giving free samples of your expertise. So when followers gain insights and they get tips, even just a fresh perspective from your content, it starts building that trust, right? They begin to see you as someone who genuinely cares about their growth, about their well-being, and not just about making that sale or that transaction. And second, it builds that genuine connection. So think about your best friends. The relationship isn't based on transactions, right? It's based on mutual value, it's based on shared experiences and trust. So, in the same way, when you offer valuable content, you're building a deeper, more genuine connection with your audience. And it says, I'm here for you, not just your money or your wallet. Right? And it avoids, number three, it avoids sales fatigue. We've all been there. We're following a page, we're scrolling through our Instagram or Facebook, and it feels like just an endless infomercial, right? We are being sold every second that we scroll through our feed, and it's tiring, it's exhausting, isn't it? So too much promotional content can lead to sales fatigue, and your audience might become desensitized to your messages, and worse, hit that unfollow button because you just keep selling and selling and selling and selling and not really providing any value. Next is enhanced engagement. So people are more likely to engage with content that benefits them directly. Whether if it's whether it's a how-to guide or like an infographic, what else? Maybe behind the scenes look at your process. These value-driven content is more shareable and more engaging. And guess what? This organic engagement, whenever they share it, it boosts your visibility on most social media platforms. And next is it actually provides room for promotions. It doesn't mean that you should stay away or shy away from promotional content altogether, right? I mean, we've got a business to run. We've got promotions. But the key is timing and balance. And when you've consistently offered value, your promotional posts are seen in a much more positive light. Okay? It's like having a bank of goodwill with your audience. And occasionally you can make a withdrawal by promoting a product or a service or whatever offer that you have. This reminds me of a book by Gary Vaynerchuk. I think it's called, I forget the title of the book. Jab, jab, whatever, right? Basically, you give more, you give first, and then before you ask, right? And it also reminds me of that book that I shared the last time about the go-giver. It's like the law of value. If you guys remember that, that means we give more in value than what we take in money. So it's just having like a healthy balance of promotional content and value-driven content. And lastly, it's the loyalty. It's the long-term loyalty that we want from our audience, right? So by balancing promotional and value-driven content, we're not just aiming for like short-term sales or transactions. We are building long-term loyalty with our audience. We're cultivating an audience that, that sticks by us, and, they'll champion our brand and convert time and time and time again. So as you plan out your social media strategy, look at it as some sort of dance, right? You're not just, you're gracefully pivoting between promotion and providing value, and you're always in tune with your audience's rhythm, okay, and what they need. And if you do, you'll not just have followers, you will have fans. Okay, so let's get practical. Pull up your last 10 social media posts. Tally up how many were promotional and how many were value driven, and then reflect on the balance. Okay, is there room to provide more value, or maybe you've been holding back on a promotion? Just like me, I have something to sell. I have value to there's value in this group, but I also have products and services that I know will help people in this group. But I've been kind of holding back on doing a promotion because I want you guys to see the value first in this group, right? So, and this is a lesson for me too, right? Adjust your upcoming content plan based on this reflection, and then we'll regroup, right? On the changes, and we'll look at the results next time. That hit me. And it's been a really interesting dive into the intricate dance of trust building on social media. And just a recap, we've talked about the pivotal importance of consistency, genuine engagement, and balanced content. Right? Remember, it's all about setting expectations and meeting them. Actually, not just meeting them, exceeding those expectations. Just as you trust your alarm to wake you up every day, your audience need to trust you to show up for them. All right? The genuine engagement, we've discussed how this is a golden ticket. Dive deep with your audience, share those authentic stories and behind the scenes posts, the sneak peeks, because they are the backbone of trust. And lastly, the balanced content. The fine line between promotional and value content. It's just like, it's like having too much salt in a dish. Okay? Too much promotion can push your audience away. So balance is the key. Now it's time for homework. Okay? There is homework. So I challenge each one of you this week to post consistently for 7 days on your primary social media platform. Okay? And then engage with at least 10 comments or DMs genuinely, going beyond just a thank you. Okay? Not just thank you for your comment. Really engage and have a conversation. And lastly, craft one value-driven post without any promotional angle. Okay? Share something purely for the benefit of your audience. And do this, and you'll start seeing the magic of trust building unfold by your very eyes, right? Remember, every genuine interaction on social media is a brick in trust, in the trust that you're building, right? Again, we're building this one brick at a time. So let's build something wonderful together. Okay, so I promise to give this a go. Drop a handshake emoji in the comments, and again, trust is earned in drops, right? And it's also lost in buckets. So we just want to make sure that we keep our trust buckets full. And we've covered a lot of ground today, and I'm sure there are some questions out there, whether you're watching live or on the replay. I encourage you to get involved. So if you're tuning in live, drop your questions in the comments below. Or if you're watching the replay, you can still participate, right? Here's what you can do. Just start your comment with a replay question, so it's easier for us to spot and respond to. All right, Stir, I see you. I see that hand. All right, so let's go ahead and do that homework this week. All right. So again, we'll go through the questions even if it's not live, even on replay. So just feel free to post it. So we're gonna wrap up, and tonight's journey through the world of social media trust building. It's extremely important to recognize the gravity of the digital relationships that we foster. Right? The digital world might be super vast and impersonal, but at its heart, it's still about that human connection. It's your connection between you and me, right? We're humans. And there are still people behind the screens. So by maintaining consistency and genuinely engaging with your audience and delivering a balanced content diet, we're paving a trust-filled path that leads straight to stronger relationships and business growth. So our choices on social media, from the content we put out there to the way we provide or respond to feedback, it shapes the perception that others hold of us. Okay? So it's more than just a strategy. It's about creating authentic, relatable moments that resonate deeply with our audience. So in doing so, we're not only earning trust, but we're cultivating a community that believes in our mission and our vision. So remember, in this digital age, the first impression is always a click away. So let's make sure that every click, every post, and every interaction radiates trust. And until next time, let your authenticity shine and continue to build these bridges one trust post at a time. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next week.